proactively every stakeholders will have to work. Everybody will have to think of the organization as first than anything else. So if we have that kind of thinking, then everybody will survive, whether the supplier has less profit or he does business at a cost. But then everybody will have to keep the interest of any organization first to take the business forward.
So do you think that discounting can be an option for the, savior for the restaurant owners, and discount coming from the suppliers end to the outlet owners? Is this going to happen post lockdown?
Yeah. See, I would not use the word discounting. There will be correction in pricing for sure. There will be less profitability. There will be better products at better yield, and there will be a restructuring of the pricing which will happen, because suppliers will have to come forward and provide better pricing to the organization. Discount may or may not happen, but definitely they will have to reduce the food cost in any kind of any manner. They will have to give products which will, as I was talking about, better yield, but substitutes, more indigenous products will take place, take the first step, and there will be a lot of local markets, local supplies which will be in demand than what we were buying from international countries.
And how do you think the credit period and the billing processes will going to change in this coming time?
Yeah, this is going to be tough, because there will be no revenues as such for next 3, 6, 9 months, and this is what I think, because if there are no inbound guests, no domestic guests who want to go, no local guests who would want to go out and experiment, in the new restaurants and outlets, so there will be less business and less revenues. So obviously there will be less demand. So proportionately the billing also will come down, but the credit period will go up. Now that credit period can go up to 90 days to 120 days from the existing 45 days.
Okay. Yeah, some sort of moves
that will happen for sure.
Right. Chef Ritesh, coming back to you, how important is it for the chef to revisit and realign their menus and recipes? What impact do you see?
Come again, please.
How important is it for the chef to revisit and realign the menus and recipes? What impact do you see?
It's of the primary importance today for every chef to revisit their menus. And in fact, it is a time to do it now, because we really do not know when we are going to open and which is the entire country going to open together or what's going to happen. But ultimately, the thing is what the chefs have to understand that, as being a chef, even I understand menus are very close to us and all that. But as Nitin sir was saying, firstly, if the supplies itself are not there, what's going to happen? What's the point of having such a lengthy menu? Then at the same time, if you are running a very affluent restaurant with all so-called imported ingredients, if the supplies are only not going to come, what are you going to serve? As Chef Michael said, we have to go local, we have to go local. That doesn't mean everyone starts serving Indian cuisine. It doesn't work that way. It's just that, they have to start trusting the Indian manufacturers and the suppliers. The thing is that the problem with the chefs is that they do not have the right knowledge also of, what's actually available in the market. They do not take that time out to learn, where the products come from, what kind of products are there in the market. And menu engineering is by far the most important aspect, because they have to reduce the menu as much as possible. That is not only to save on food cost, but labor cost and overheads at the same time. Today, the business owners won't be in a position to block, say, lakhs and lakhs of rupees for supplies which are lying in the dry store for 2-3 months. Because cash flow is completely gone, and then credit is only given on the credibility of the owner, not of the chef.
Right.
Credibility of the business itself. If the chefs do not understand that, then probably it's going to be very difficult. And even the business owners have to understand. And it's high time you have your 6 months data, start learning about it, get into the process. And especially multi-cuisine restaurants, entire food groups, if you want to remove. If, for example, if a multi-cuisine restaurant was having, say, dim sums on the menu. Just trying to give an example. And probably you see the dim sum as a section itself was not contributing, say, for more than 8% on the revenue. Then do you really need to have dim sums at this stage?
Right.
And then start upgrading already your sections and the kind of response that your target market was giving to you. And chefs also have to start understanding that delivery is going to be a new norm, whether through aggregators or through self mode. That's a different thing altogether. And the food that goes into delivery is not the same that goes onto the table. Fried stuffs, when packed, will get soggy. It's as simple as that. So all that understanding they have to take. No one is asking them to completely change the recipes and completely come up with new menus and change the concept. But sit now, utilize the time that you have and try to work on concepts and menus that is going to fit into, or probably just an extension of what was there already.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and the Bible menus, which Chef Michael always says, the Bible menus is a passe now. Even I feel even the Udupi restaurants and the old quarter system wala bars also should actually understand that, because if we say for the economy, being a chef, I have to not only talk about the organized sector, even the unorganized sector should understand that it's high time they also start, bringing in the change which is required.
Right. Right.
So, that is very, very important, I feel.
Yeah, it's time for us to relearn, unlearn few things and get ourselves realigned, getting our processes and businesses realigned. Very rightly said, Chef. So, Chef, having said this, how do you think that, the operation heads and chef could think of creative ways to control food and contribute to the revenue? Have you thought of any measures that, or you would like to suggest our audience?
Revenue as it, I didn't get
I
a
mean,
question actually.
So basically, all the chefs and the operational heads, how they can come up with more creative ways to, contribute to the, like controlling the cost and contribute more to the revenue
See,
from the kitchen
earlier,
perspective.
the KRA for any executive chef de cuisine has always been a food cost. But today they have to understand that, it's not going to only be the food cost, it's going to be the complete cost of operations of, even if I say the food culinary division. So they have to understand, how they are controlling their labor cost and getting maximum output through minimum resources available. The biggest challenge that they are going to face is the availability of resources. They have to understand that they are not going to get the best of the skill set that is there in the market and at a throwaway prices. Just because jobs are less and you start offering any shitty salaries and you'll get people. Even if the poor guy comes just because he or she doesn't have work, he will not be happy and the performance will be seen in the output of the product.
Right.
So they have to firstly develop the psychology of the team, because the team will be looking up to the chef. You are the one who hired us. So first, you give us the, what exactly you have in our first store. So food cost, as I said, will start from the supply chain. They have to understand what products are coming at what price, and with one major ingredient, how many more dishes. As Nitin sir said, special dishes on the menu are not going to be any more signature, my signature, this signature. All that signatures are not required. No need to give any autographs on the menu henceforth. Try to get one hero ingredient and try to turn, as many dishes as possible, and or discreetly from each other. That is good.
Right.
That's where the skill set of the chefs and the team will go to come to play. And that's what the innovation is all about. I love, when I go to a restaurant when, paneer has been made into so many ways, but the base gravy still stays the same. But that doesn't work, You
Right.
can, it shouldn't just have to have the look different. It have to have the texture different. Maybe the chicken is cut into a dice, or maybe you have a whole joint itself, and the marinade changes and the presentation changes. So that's a new old thing in a new plate, So that these chefs have to start understanding that, minimum resources of ingredients, minimum staff, and no imported equipment for now. 5 लाख का 6.5 लाख का कॉम्बी ओवन अभी है तो है, नहीं खराब तो हो गया. Try and figure out how you can work. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult, and it doesn't make sense, then you calling yourself a chef and not able to do it with, what resources you have, because the owner is going to look up to you. That, how are you going to control your cost, and ultimately the marketing team has to, try to push that, this is the changes which has happened. Well, hygiene is going to play a very important role, but innovation is going to be the biggest challenge now for chefs, with keeping the cost in mind. If they were working at 30% food cost on an industry average, maybe you have to come down to 25, I feel. And it's not that difficult, definitely can be done.
Right. Um, so, Chef Michael, I would like to, connect you. Connect with you again with what Chef Ritesh has said. So, how will food media, styling, photography, and marketing going to help in coming days? Because Ritesh Chef has already spoken a lot. How would you like to, make it more interesting ahead?
Okay, but I'll go to one point which I think Chef Ritesh missed out on. And we always, which also chefs forget, the dishwasher in your kitchen is responsible for the making or breaking of your kitchen. It comes down to that nitty gritty of food cost, of controlling your kitchen. And most of the executive chefs, sorry to say, are sitting in their offices. They don't bother about the bottom end. And that is where most of your food costs go through the roof. Right, Chef Ritesh? And
Yes. Yes.
your,
I
your,
agree.
your mise, all of that is done by your commis. And that is where a lot of food waste happens. And innovation happens when I know this is available in the market. What can I create out of it? It is the best time for chefs actually to put dishes on a menu that speak about themselves rather than what the guest wants. And that is what will translate into good marketing skills for the marketing team to be able to promote the chef, one, to promote his innovative skills, to promote how well he's handling the hygiene, how well he's handling the transition from one table to the next table. I think nowadays most of the food is not going to come out in open plates to the table. You'll have to have a cloth over it, especially if it's a big restaurant, transiting it from the kitchen to the table, going to have to be covered in some fashion or the other. These little things are going to be marketing tools for the marketing team. And a lot of marketing teams, sorry to say, have always promoted the restaurant. They have not promoted the Indian chefs. I mean, I'm saying Indian chefs to the fullest. Okay, we've got a small bandwidth of chefs who are always being promoted 365 days of the year. What about that 90% of chefs who are equally good at their task or at their job, who know what they're doing, and why aren't marketing teams promoting them? Because if you promote them, you will promote your restaurant. You will get more business out of it. If you promote your chefs, you'll be able to promote the food being delivered even for home delivery. And that is the new game that is going to be in play from now on. That's what I feel.
Okay. So Farzan, would you like to counter answer? I mean, the question probably Chef has, put forth. I mean, that's like, a straight thing to the marketing team. What would you like to say on this?
No, so there is no countering here at all. What he said was absolutely correct. In fact, having worked with so many F&B brands, specifically restaurants and hotels, we do promote chefs a lot. On social media, it's mainly just talking about, what the chef is, giving the chef's background and everything. I think the bigger player of this role is my PR team, because that's what they do. We do a lot of, because newspapers and magazines also have a lot of opportunity for these chefs, be it upcoming, be it newbies, be it experienced or in a particular cuisine or anything for that matter. So there is ample opportunity, and I think we make the most of it, at least for our brands, because we make sure that we harrow the chefs. It's a big task chasing them. I mean, obviously, rightly so, because they're very busy. They're extremely busy, and I mean, they can always vouch for the other chefs as well. Whatever post you're working at, be it a CDP or a DCDP or a sous chef or anything for that matter, because the operation, it's operations, right? It's one of the most difficult jobs in the industry. So trying to get a hold of them is another task altogether. But once that happens, usually the message is out to the publications, and they usually are the ones who speak about the chefs. So we do a lot of profiling for our brands, you know, for the chefs specifically, because like he rightly said, you need that to happen. You need to talk about the brand. So, I mean, this has been the case for us up until now, but like we all mentioned, something will change, right? So we have to add more things to this now. And using it best is on your social platforms, because we cannot heavily rely on the publications now to talk about this, because their focus will be hygiene. You know, the biggest trend that, you know, I speculate upcoming after the whole thing goes down, or even whilst this whole thing is happening, is hygiene. Will be the first thing that will be on everyone's mind, that, you know, can I order food from here? Is this place hygienic, for that matter?
Right.
So keeping that in mind, I think we also need to talk about more staff members here, not just the chefs. You know, maybe the way they interact with each other, maybe their experience as to how operations has changed after uh, the lockdown. Now, how their experience has changed. You know, maybe it's just a very clear, transparent messaging that we'd like our restaurants to put out to their audience, and crystal clear, telling them that this is what we have gone through, and you know, it's a very difficult situation that we're all in. So let's just help each other out as much as we can, and gain their trust by letting them know that, you know, we're not only taking care of you by keeping the place hygienic and sanitized, we're also taking care of our employees. So I think that is of utmost importance right now, apart from, you know, the regular marketing activities that will happen on an everyday
Mm-hmm.
basis, you know, in any case. So that's what I
Yeah.
think about it.
So what do you think, like the possible changes or trends you're seeing? Because social media or other digital platforms have really come
Correct.
as a savior in this time. And post lockdown, how possibly one can identify or create a great business opportunity by using the right tools and all the resources that digital resources that they have with them,
Okay.
to either showcase their restaurant or their chefs, or whatever that is going to be like the most eye catching, or something will attract more customers to them.
Okay. So I think your biggest platform for promoting yourself, more than anything else, will be social media right now, because we all have been actively using social media since the lockdown, because there's not much to do otherwise. So in
Right.
our free time, I mean, there is a lot of free time now, so you will naturally be using a lot of social media. So the increase has it has shot up by 52%. You know,
Okay.
52 times. I'm so sorry, not percent, 52 times, because not only the people who have been using it more are obviously using it, it's also the people who weren't using it, like even the older generation now, for that matter. They are online, they are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they're on WhatsApp, they're playing online games and whatnot. So they have also been introduced to this particular concept, which might be something new for them, but then they've had to adapt to it, you know. So that is one thing that I think right now is the best time. Up until now, we have not seen a better time to be more active on social media. From now till the time the lockdown is lifted, and even beyond that, because people will still be on it. People will still be on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on YouTube. They will still be consuming those resources and on those particular platforms. So to strike while the iron is hot, it's best to be more active on social media. I mean, one other example is Netflix. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, almost everyone watches Netflix. Now the usage is so high for a platform like Netflix, is that because they've reduced their print quality overall.
Right.
They have not given us an option. They've directly reduced it. So you can imagine the usage that, you know, it has impacted
Right.
on the media, on the digital front. The other factor here is promoting ourselves, you know, putting in that little amount to push your business. That will be extremely lucrative. And again, it is the best time to do this, because for paid ads, for media buying right now, the demand is really low, the supply is high. Naturally, your prices will be low and your reach will be really high, because people are using it right now. So there is no other time, you know, I mean, you wouldn't see a better opportunity for doing this. So yes, going digital is the way forward right now. Your ROI, I
Right.
mean, I've done a little bit of research for this. So your ROI has now increased. It used to be in the range of 20 to 25%, you know, when you go into media buying, and now it's increased to 53%, which is a huge boom. It's a massive boom.
Right.
Apart from that, there is WhatsApp marketing as well, you know, because now we can also gain that. So data is something that's very important in the current age. And according to me, data will be the most expensive asset in the coming generation.
Of course.
So making use of it, why not? You're directly reaching out to your customers on WhatsApp and letting them know that, you know, okay, this is the place, this is our menu, or, you know, if we're doing anything special, anything different, which of course places will have to. So it's a matter of reaching out to your audience and, you know, getting into that bit. Speaking of trends, I mean, I'm sorry to take up a lot of time here, but there will be a lot of things trending, we will need to constantly reassess our campaigns to constantly adapt to the situation, because you don't know what will happen the next month. So there's not one thing that there's no one clear marketing objective that you can have in your mind for the coming times. We'll have to constantly readapting ourselves, keep changing and keep improvising on that. The other thing that I've also noticed that as ridiculous as it may sound, there's a lot of unwanted PR that happens. You know, I'll just give you two contradictory examples. Antivirus companies are flourishing right now. As funny as it sounds, there's no connection to coronavirus, but they're flourishing right now. The sales of Corona beer has dropped. So these are just two contradictory examples that, you know, it just shows us that how it impacts your digital world. A lot of things now will go online. People will not put up a lot of ad hoardings, because I mean, there won't be people seeing it, right? So everything will change online, like it anyway has been transforming, but this particular lockdown has just given a huge push to that. So now everything will be online, and it is of utmost importance to make the most of it at this moment. Your delivery services will increase. So, you know, naturally now, if you want to deliver to more people in your area, you would ordinarily do pamphlet distribution, right? Because that's the best way to make sure people have seen it. But that might just be frowned upon right now. So again, how do you counter that? By doing ads, by targeting the people in your vicinity or wherever you are servicing, rather delivering, targeting exactly that. And that is something you can control from your end when you are doing, you know, media buying for social media per se. Apart from that, I mean, yeah, the brands need to take a little bit of a compassionate approach here while advertising, you know, maybe lighten their moods, you know, maybe even show a little sympathy for the people, and, you know, maybe get into some CSR if possible, of course, because that's not something that's easy to execute. But if we can do that and, you know, add some brownie points to our name, nothing like it. It's the best way of getting your PR possible. And maybe I would also like to ask Prajakta ma'am if, you know, if according to her, if there will be any particular compulsions when it comes to when it comes to showing your hygiene certificates, if this particular norm will be implemented by the government, that, you know, you need to have a certain certification done and displayed at your restaurant so that people know. So maybe displaying that to your customers and, you know, getting them to gain your trust, I think that could be a big factor, that could play a huge role. So yeah. And my last point would be,
like to,
sorry.
Please continue.
My last point, sorry. The last point would be just to, you know, just be out there and make the most of what's happening, because we need to involve ourselves as well when it comes to the staff, the management, the chefs, anyone for that matter. Keep talking about your brand, keep convincing people that, you know, show them that it's completely justified, that, you know, you can come here, we're hygienic, we're everything, you can believe in us, and just to keep spreading the word. So we just have to all come together. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, that was like a great insight. So Prajakta, he has already shooted one question to you. So would you like to answer that first? Unmute yourself, Prajakta.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to, you know, put my insight on that particular question. So as mentioned, there is already a regulation which is put up by FSSAI, which says the hygiene rating has to be, placed by the restaurants and cafes on the doors of their restaurants, or anywhere they can display it into their restaurants. So this basically hygiene rating is something wherein you have to rate your restaurant between 1 to 5. So there's a small checklist which is, placed on FSSAI website. And according to that, there are certain parameters like, how personal hygiene is maintained in your operational unit, or, what kind of raw materials are using. So how is the appearance of the raw materials that you are using, whether they are, fresh, or whether there are fruit flies in your kitchen, or whether the vegetables are shriveled or bruised. So on that condition, it's a self-audit checklist. And on that basis, there is a 1 to 5 rating that FSSAI gives us. And once you get that rating, you can place that rating on the entrance of your restaurant or cafe. And that will help, depending upon your rating, if the rating is 5 or 4, that will help you to, that will help you to ensure that more people are coming at your restaurants and cafes. So that is one thing which is already there, but hardly any people, restaurants and cafes are implementing that. So there are n number of regulations which are already there as per the FSSAI guidelines, but not many people are aware about it. At the same time, earlier, food safety and hygiene was a part and parcel. It was like, chलता है, चलता है, कर लेंगे kind of. But now, because of this pandemic, there is a 360-degree change in the entire process. So this is something which is a need of an hour, and it is a must at the moment. If you don't do that, people are gone. So that is one thing, as with respect to the, answering Farzan's question.
So, what changes you're hoping, Prajakta, that will, take place when, specifically, the guidelines coming from all the governing bodies, how one should, get their things aligned, specifically, like, right from the kitchen audits to hygiene practices, food handling. What do you think, like, how strict it would be henceforth?
See, in the initial stages, it's very important. There would be certain guidelines, change in the SOPs, emphasizing more on hand washing procedures. For example, this is just an example that I'm giving. Hand washing procedure is already there in our food safety regulations. But to be very frank, if you go, I personally have been into the kitchen and randomly have asked one of a chef at a very higher level. I just asked him that, can you please show me the hand washing procedure before you enter into your operational unit? Can you please show me that? So, as per the WHO, the design, the standardization for hand washing is, they have standardized it that you have to do it for 20 seconds, and there are a few more procedures for that. But when I saw that what kind of hand washing procedure is happening in the kitchen. Hello?
Yes, please continue.
Yeah. So taking that situation into consideration, people, a lot of people are not taking it seriously. So I think there won't be more amount of guidelines as of now. I feel that whatever the earlier guidelines were, like, storage of temperature of food, at certain temperatures, hand washing procedure, which is a basic need, at the moment, sanitization of your equipment, fruits and vegetables. So these are the things which I think FSSAI, which is our governing body, will emphasize more on, because again, that's a truth. Again, not many restaurants or cafes or sanitize their fruits and vegetables. So it sometimes, in that entire operation, it usually happens that people don't even wash their vegetables. So that is a reality of the industry. It might be bitter, but that's the fact. So now the thing is, because the thing is, from where you receive your raw material is where the pandemic issue starts from. So taking each and every step into consideration, right from receiving of your raw material to storage of your raw material, from where are you buying your raw material, so all these process till your dispatch or till your food is, on the platter, every step will matter. One more thing which I would emphasize is on contactless dining. So contactless dining would be one of the trend, because of data analytics and AI, technology is something which is going to come into picture. And when it comes to contactless dining, it is not something like it would be entirely contactless, but it's our duty that we, start implementing certain kind of procedures in our operations, that there is least amount of contact. For example, if we talk about payments, so there are e-wallets through which we can do our payments. Beyond that, pre-ordering is one more thing which can be implemented, in the upcoming, after the lockdown gets over. So the pre-ordering is something wherein, for example, if I have booked a restaurant, I've reserved my seat for dinner in a restaurant. Okay, so ordering online from my application before reaching there at the restaurant, that what am I going to eat. So till the time I reach the restaurant, I get my menu within 5 minutes. I get my food within 5 minutes. So here what happens is you're cutting the time of sitting there and spreading the pandemic. So that is one thing which can be implemented. So there are certain kind of changes that which can be brought into your operations. Beyond that, sanitization of the touch points in the restaurants and cafes, like opening of doors. So if somebody has touched the door, sanitizing of the door is also important. Before serving the food to the guests, sanitizing of the plates is again important. And I think one norm that would be coming is maintaining a distance, placing distance in the restaurants, the tables. I approximate around 1 to 1.5 meters of distance, would be should be maintained. I think that would be the upcoming norm. I don't know how it is going to happen, but yeah. And beyond that, one thing which I really, now this is a message, which I really want to give to all the viewers or whoever is listening to, that it's not only the industry or the restaurant people who have to implement the norms or who have to take care of the safety measures. It's we also as a consumer or a client who are entering into the kitchen, in the restaurants, have to take the safety measures. For example, if the restaurant says that, when you touch the doors, you have to sanitize your hand. Maybe it 3 times, 4 times, 10 times, but you have to do that. Because it's not always necessary that people who are working into the kitchen can spread the pandemic. People who are coming from outside can also be a source of it. So instead of being reluctant to whatever the restaurant people are telling you, we also should proactively start implementing those measures, because that's a need of an hour. And at the same time, sensitizing the food handlers on food safety trainings is a need of an hour. So sensitizing on usual basis, because now what happens is, because there is a mandate or there is a requirement that the food handlers should be trained on food safety. They are trained after every quarter, after every 3 months, or after twice in a year. That's not something which they will be well versed with. If you have to genuinely make them work towards it, if we genuinely have to find a solution for what the problem is, we have to keep on sensitizing them on regular basis. And now also the testing is also very mandatory, so that is something which the restaurants have to take care of, and the trainings and the audits. So there are certain checklists as per your operations which you have to implement with regards to right from receiving of your raw materials to your finished good. So taking that into consideration, you can evaluate where are you standing and what all loopholes are there and how you can rectify yourself. So this is something which I feel.
Yeah. So I think most of you guys have covered, the most important areas of, the food handling and how things are going to be, in, future. So we have a separate WhatsApp group. If you guys have a link, all the audience over here, if you guys have a link through which you have entered on this Zoom, you will also get a WhatsApp group where we can have these, experts answering your questions on one-to-one basis, because we have very limited time with us. We really need to wrap up with this session. So I think all the, things that, we have been discussing right now, I think it's for us to, bring that change, realign our businesses, realign the processes, to be in the game. I think it's the key. So don't stop. Halt is going to be, just for time being. So before we sign off, I would like to thank a few people because of whom we could, do this session successfully. So it's Hammers Publication. Thank you so much. Hotel Management School from Myanmar. Spectrum Food Solutions, Skadush Media, Koala Hospitalis, and the entire team of HCS Global Corp. So we will shortly send you the WhatsApp group link again on your personal messages. So you could register with HCS for free one-to-one consultation, and we could get you connected to all our panelists again. So I'm Priyanka and would like to complete this discussion with one quote, that is, to foresee is to rule. Thank you so much. And it was indeed great experience to have you all